Hi there, this is Helen with another one of my videos on how to survive with your online business in the coronavirus period. I'm recording this in, I think we've just finished week 8 here in the UK since lockdown. Things are easing up a little bit, but we're by no means out of the woods, and I think we're now starting to feel some of the anxiety of possibly getting back out in the world for those of us that have been lucky enough to be able to completely lock down. So it's a very funny state of mind at the moment, and I'm seeing lots of people who are still trying to, or still wanting to, give away their digital products for free, and that's been something. It happens in normal times, this urge to give your stuff away for free. It got even worse in the lockdown, and I don't see it going anywhere soon. And I've had some success selling digital products, not enough that I'm happy to teach other people to do it because it's been a bit patchy, but I sure have made a lot of mistakes. So I wanted to share some of the mistakes and some of the traps I've seen out there, because I can see lots of small business owners just ready to fall into those right now, and it's pretty heartbreaking as somebody that's been there and failed a lot and then finally had some success down the line. So one thing that I'd like to tell you about first of all is one of the first blogging courses I bought was from a guy called David Risley, and the thing that he said that has really stuck with me is any kind of online marketing is a mental game that you play with yourself. And I don't think I've heard anyone else say that. And it's very, very true. So a lot of the time with any sort of online marketing, when you're selling your own stuff, you're working against your own psychology. So bear in mind that that's probably going to be pretty strong right now, because there's a pandemic out there. All your survival instincts are just being pushed. All those buttons are being pushed. So although this is a big problem at the best of times, it's even worse now. So keep that in mind with what I'm saying. So bearing in mind that selling your stuff online in digital format is a mental game, think of all the messages that you have coming at you that tell you that your content, your stuff that you sell online is of low value. So think about it. So there's this expectation out there in society generally that anything on the internet should be free, right? You've got that in your head. If you're not very experienced at selling digital products, also in your head you'll have the feeling that what you do online is of less value than you showing up in person or working one-to-one with people or selling something tangible or physical or being in a room with people. The online digital space feels of lower value than that, and you're going to need to question, is that true in every case? You've also got, and I've heard this over and over, there's so much stuff out there for free, why should people pay for my own stuff? And I think that's often said in resignation, but what your job inside your own head is to challenge that. So instead of it being, why should people pay for my stuff? It's like, no, why should they pay for my stuff? Let's give them a reason. Let's make it valuable enough so that they will. And actually that's quite hard. That's quite a shift, and you need to be willing to do that. There's also, and this one sunk me for years, you have that expectation that you'll create this product and you'll do a few Facebook posts and you'll do a few tweets and you might do an interview and you'll start to get some sales. And actually, unless you've got a big audience already, you probably won't. And it's hard. It's so hard. And I think we're quite used to our rewards being in line with the effort we put in. So you get a job, you get paid at the end of the month. You do a month's work, you get paid a month's money. Not like that with digital products. You have to put a lot of work in up front, and there's an awful lot of failure up front before the money starts to flow. I mean, some people are lucky if they've got a big audience already before they start selling products. It's a different story, but if you're starting from a small audience, expect a lot of work up front, and a lot of effective marketing up front as well. It's not just enough to put the work in, it's got to be effective work. Okay. Another one that's really hard to deal with is if you have unsupportive family members. So you're not making any money, your partner is supporting you while you're not making any money, or you're making less money than you want to be making, and you feel the pressure from them. Well, come on, you've been doing this a couple of years, you're not making any money, why don't you try my idea? And they've got even less experience than you have at this. So that's a dangerous path to go down. So I think you look at all this stuff in your head, and not everyone's got it, I know, and people have different stuff in their heads, but all this could potentially be pulling you back, and it's not easy to overcome it, but often you don't know it's there, and the first step is to really assess what's in your own head that could be holding you back and could be sending you down the road of I'll give it all away for free. Like I said, I've been through a lot of this myself, so I know how hard this is to deal with. All of this works against you charging for your digital products. And if you think about what are you selling when you sell a digital product, it's just pixels. There's nothing tangible, people can't touch it, you can't stand in a room with people and show it to them. It feels like not much more than just fresh air, really. And in a physical sense, that's true. So what makes digital products valuable and sellable is something entirely different to what you're used to selling. So the question is, how do you communicate the value of something that is just pixels, little bits of electrical information coming down a wire? How do you communicate that value? And it's all in the perceived value. So you can't sell it until those people at the other end perceive it has a value, those buyers perceive it has a value. And the way we give perceived value to digital products are things like testimonials, like give them a chance to read your blog post and let them think, yeah, actually this person knows what they're talking about and they could help me. It might be they've bought a smaller, cheaper product from you before and it really helped and they're now ready to buy a more expensive one. And also branding is important, so making sure your branding speaks to them about who this product is for and that it can really help them. And a big part of that perceived value is the price. Okay, so a lot of what something's value is what you tell people it is. Now with a physical product, they can maybe compare it to something else in the shop, they can hold it up, is it bigger, is it smaller, does it look better made, is it better quality, all that sort of stuff. With a digital product there's less of that, and so I think the price becomes more important in the perceived value. Okay, now again, that works totally against all your programming in your head, which says I'm new, I'm a beginner, my stuff isn't worth much, the online people expect things online to be free. So actually what you've got to do to sell something online is the opposite of what your programming is telling you, and that's really hard to overcome, but the first step is to acknowledge it and understand it. So if you give too much away for free, you are totally shooting yourself in the foot on that perceived value. So all that work you do on writing blog posts, social media posts, putting yourself across as an expert, telling people about your qualifications and your experience, all that, if you put too low a price on your digital product or you give too much away for free, you're then saying actually none of that's true, it's worth zero. Okay, now that sounds really harsh, but just think about that. Okay, just give that some thought. So your next question is probably going to be, well, how come everybody else and some really big names and some really big companies are giving so much away for free? And that's because the people giving stuff away for free are in one of two camps. They're either inexperienced people who are falling into all the traps I've just mentioned in this video, or they are experienced marketers who know what they're doing. They give a certain amount away for free, and they know how to convert a proportion of those people into buyers. That's it. So when you go out there and say everybody's giving stuff away for free, if you're only seeing the free end of what those experienced marketers are doing, or you're seeing the inexperienced marketers just giving all their stuff away for free, which is pretty unwise anyway. Okay, so the question is, which camp do you want to be in? I know which one I'd rather be in, and this is why I'm not starting a high level program at this point, because I haven't done enough of the groundwork to tell you what works. So what do you need to do to move yourself from the inexperienced marketer group who is under the influence of that mental programming that I was talking about and doesn't have a strategy, to the camp where you're an experienced marketer who has a strategy, who has focus, and who is testing and tracking their results? Okay, I think one thing you need to do is learn a lot more about digital marketing. I mean, you're constantly learning anyway. I'm constantly learning. But generally, the impression you get from looking at a lot of online sources is that you just knock out a few YouTube videos and everything's great. It's not. It's a constant testing, tracking, learning, improving, optimizing path that you need to go down, and that does take some time and some commitment. I think you need to be willing to challenge your own mental messages, and that can be daily, that can be several times daily. I mean, particularly at the moment, I know that I have a lot of thoughts about, oh, that will never work, why should I do that? And it's like, nope, it's not going to work if you don't put the work in, it's not going to work if you don't challenge it. So that's important too, and that's a constant thing some of the time. I think you need to stay strong if you do have unsupportive family members. I mean, I'm very lucky, I don't have that, but I know a lot of people do have that, who are saying, well, that won't work, or you're just mucking about online. You need to have a way of managing that and not letting that get you down. Very hard again, but it's doable. And I think you need to commit to a highly focused and strategic way of working. It's not enough to knock out a few YouTube videos and see how they go, for example. You need to have a strategy. You need to be consistently appearing in podcasts or interviews, and then getting people onto your mailing list on the back of that, and then selling things to them down the line when you've built a relationship with those people. It needs to be that strategic. Just putting content out there with the URL of your website and hoping they find their way there to find something to buy, in my experience, doesn't work. You've got to really show people every step of the way, and you've got to build that trust every step of the way, because you're an unknown quantity. If you're a big star, it's different, but if you're an unknown quantity, you've got to be much more strategic. And what I would say is that if you don't have the time and the mental space in this pandemic period, and I know a lot of us are struggling, I know I'm finding it challenging myself, be really honest with yourself. If you don't have the time to do all this at this point, think about whether you're going to be better off to just put the whole thing on ice and review it in 3 months or whenever, than you are to, in desperation, just give it all away for free right now. Because giving too much away for free, as I've said, can do long-term damage to your perceived value, to your brand, and certainly giving it away for free without any plan for how you might convert that into paying customers later is a very bad move, because it won't happen by itself. You have to have a plan for doing that. So I know all that's sounds quite harsh, it sounds quite hard. It's very different to a lot of the videos you'll get from experts who tell you it's all easy, because ultimately they're probably trying to sell you their course. But like I said, it breaks my heart to see so many people with so much potential giving stuff away for free when they really should be charging. They could build a fantastic business that's much more resilient to disasters like the pandemic, but also personal problems as well. But giving it away for free at this stage is really not the way to go. So there is a place for free, but really think very, very hard before you go down that route, and have a good reason for doing it. Okay, thanks for listening. Bye.